Hello everyone, welcome to yet another episode of Pod of the Rings at the Indian Express. We've been covering India at the Paris Olympics for the last couple of weeks, and Saturday officially marks the end of India's contention at Paris. We had slim hopes on wrestling, or actually more than slim hopes, with the way Ritika Huda started in the women's 76 kg category. If she had managed to reach the repechage or even reach the semi-final and win it, we would have had one event to look forward to on Sunday. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. More on that and whatever has happened over the last couple of weeks, we'll take a look back and dissect a few things in today's podcast. I'd like to inform you that, we have a special guest today in the podcast. Amit. Kamath is unfortunately not there today. To replace him, we've brought in a big gun. I know personally a few people have told me that, Shivani Naik needs to be on the podcast more often. So we do have Shivani today joining us shortly to discuss badminton and much more. So I'm sure that excites our listeners, since we've been speaking about the stuff Shivani has been predicting on the podcast without telling her. Before that, we do have Mihir shortly for us. We don't have him for too much time, so we'll just quickly go to Mihir and get his take on what's Paris been like overall. We'll of course try and do a much deeper postmortem of the games when Mihir has a little more time on his hands, but he's been chasing stories as usual, so we just have Mihir for a little bit. Mihir, thanks again for finding the time to join us shortly. Just wanted to ask you, 7 medals in Tokyo. As of now, at the time of recording, 6 in Paris. We still don't know about Vinesh. What is your just quick take on what's Paris been like for India?
It's difficult how to read exactly this performance. In a way, it's, exactly where we were 3 years ago. So forward, but, still at the same place. 6 medals. And even though it's not, and sporting sense, it might not make. But say, for example, if you take Vinesh's medal or possible medal into account, either a silver or a gold, then we were at 7. We are at 7, rather. How to read is, like I said, is tricky. Maybe we'll be doing a proper analysis, a thorough analysis in a day or two or in the coming episodes of Game Time. So it requires a detailed outlook. I expected, to be honest, the way Ritika Huda started the day, I expected for her to be amongst medals, and not too impressed with the way she fought her second ball. It was a very tough one, agreed, but you're 1-0 up and lose on technical ground on a tie break. That is, in a way, like Vinayakk, we discussed. It perfectly sums up how India's Olympics have been. The nearly games, we might call it, for India, to kind of fall into the trap of all the cliches. Yeah, whatever said and done, I think the biggest bummer of these games was all the good energy was sucked out by whatever happened to Vinesh. I know it's unfair on the others, but that's what it will go down as an unfortunate thing that overshadowed everything else that India did at these Olympics.
Right. The nearly games. That's a nice way to put it. Probably a good title for a book if anyone is planning on writing one on India at Paris 24. Thank you, Mihir. We'll let you go now. So like I said, hopefully we'll have you for much longer sometime. And whenever we do hear about Vinesh, that's another episode to be done, I guess. Thanks for joining us as always. Have a good closing ceremony, I guess, tomorrow. And we'll talk to you soon. And with that, it's time to bring in Shivani. Shivani Naik is here today. Shivani, the nearly games, do you agree with that?
Yeah, almost nearly, but kind of sums up the whole fortnight.
Yeah, quite a few close misses and all that. So what we thought we'll do today is we'll pick few key sports where India didn't win a medal. The medals that India won, we've spoken about all day, every day throughout the last 2 weeks. We've discussed all that we need to discuss about the medals so far. We'll still do probably a deeper dive, but for now we'll pick events or sports that kind of returning empty-handed. Since Shivani is here, there is only one place to start. Badminton, of course. Shivani ji, did you think it would be 0 from badminton before Paris started? Did that even cross your mind?
No, I was gunning for multiple ones, though it was only 5 of them, in a sense, including the pairings. I think it's just heartbreaking. I think I'm still at the anger stage of grief, and more angry because this was such an awesome bunch, right? This was like a great amalgamation of talent from India at one place. Paris looked pretty locked in for a couple of badminton medals at least, and none of it panned out. So, yeah, still furious.
Yeah. The stages of grief. I think we'll all go through that over the next few days, I think, once the withdrawal kicks in. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I'm not sure which stage of grief I am in, but definitely didn't expect zero for sure from badminton. It's London 2012, Rio 2016, Tokyo 2023, three straight games where we won medals from Saina and Sindhu. Lakshya got the closest. He was half a game away, I guess, from winning a bronze. Took the first game, had a lead in the second game. When you speak about nearly games, Lakshya's missed opportunity comes to mind. I mean, I'm sure if you ask Shivani, she'll probably say that she'll probably even go back to the Victor Axelsen match where he had game points in the first game and then had a 8-0, 7-0, 8-0 lead in the second game, which, I mean, no one actually came close to threatening Victor at Paris, and Lakshya had actually Victor really worried. I mean, he spoke about after the match where he actually considered that Lakshya perhaps played better for the large part, but he had the win. So, yeah, Shivani, Lakshya, I mean, time is on his side, so that's one good thing. And also, speaking of time on their side, we have Satvik Chirag, also still very young. So, bigger disappointments from those two, but kind of looking forward to LA already.
Yeah, absolutely. And Satvik Chirag for sure. Lakshya, the Lizija match really sort of hurts. I, of course, expected him to win it. You know, he almost kind of took us there, and he was at 8-3 in the second, and it fell apart, and that was the mood of the games from that point onwards. But Victor Axelsen, considering he went on to win his second title, yeah, that was always going to be a tough one. That was going to be a tough one to finish. Closing out has been a problem with Lakshya, but I had expected him to kind of cross the line against the Malaysian. It was far too big an occasion in terms of, for his first Olympics. But then we are sort of spoilt by what Sindhu has done in her first Olympics. So he was expected to kind of, carry forward that tradition. But no, it is disappointing. I'm sure, I think he's hurting worse than anyone else. But yeah, it was a massive, proper heartbreak, into, I think, 4 pieces.
Speaking of 4 pieces of art, I think I'm sure Satvik Chirag would bring that up to 8. Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about Satvik Chirag for so long as, not even medal contenders. I honestly put them as, not to sound entitled or anything, but I had them down as gold medal contenders, right? I mean, it wasn't just based on, world number 1 or anything. Just the way that they've been able to step up on big occasions. We've seen them do well in the Thomas Cup, the big events on the tour. They regularly started making the finals, winning a Super 1000 in Indonesia, winning the French Open at the very venue earlier this year. All that kind of made us, and I think not just us, most of who have been following badminton for a long time had them down as possibly favorites, if not joint favorites along with the Chinese. Where did it go wrong, Shivani? I mean, it's not like it's their first time at an Olympics. They had the heartbreak in Tokyo. They knew kind of what the pressure is going to be, and they spoke about the pressure as well. Was it just a case of nerves in the quarterfinal when they couldn't close out the second game when they had the lead?
I really want to make crazy excuses on their behalf. I want to also say that if that same match was played, let's say a few hours later or a day later or at any other time, they might have actually gone through and reached the semi-finals. But the cold sort of cutting fact is that the Malaysians were better. The Malaysians have been better in the past. If you remember, they were sort of 8-0 up on the Indians in their head-to-head, and they are a quality pairing. I am not saying that Indians took them lightly. Satvik Chirag would never do that. They are extremely aware of how strong all these opponents are, but they probably expected that the whole occasion will take them through, the fact that they have been in these big situations, but it just kind of precipitated into a very, very tactical game. Aranchia was, he just found his sort of verve in the second. And again, they won the first, and then they were sort of lulled into this thing that they are going to progress, and that did not come through. But no, I think men's doubles is a very, very tough category. Eventually, the Chinese Taipei pairing won. So it was always going to be difficult. But yeah, again, it kicks in the gut that it was against the Malaysians with the same sort of losing pattern as before. The fact that the Malaysians they're a quality pairing, we always knew it. But, there are some opponents who exactly what they're going to do. You even have a plan to counter it, but you cannot pull it off. And nerves, of course. I mean, nerves were both sides. But I think also the Indians are they rely a little on momentum in closing out. And if that kind of flips, like there is always a problem. We've seen that in finals over the last 6 to 8 months. So I think that was an issue. And we, of course, piled a lot of pressure on them to get the gold. And I don't think, we should kind of bring that down. They are still a gold standard pairing. But yeah, they'll have to figure out those answers without Matthias Bo, probably.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was coming for. I mean, before we get to Sindhu, it's going to be difficult to replace what Matthias Bo was doing for them, I think. And he's already announced that he's moving on from coaching. And he said that it's the end of his coaching days, which both Shivani and I are not really sure that will be the case for the long term. But he loves badminton too much to stay away from it. But I mean, I guess at least for the near future, his contribution to Indian doubles is over. Man brought in a lot of tactical shifts into their game, made them astute on, being adaptive on the court, brought in variations, made both of them really good front and back, things like that. I mean, Shivani has written a piece on why Matthias Bo will be missed. That's been up on our website, so do check that out. Big miss, right, Shivani? I mean, I'm guessing they'll need another sort of a different hand to come in and help them, or I mean, are we going to just see Gopi sir take over? What do you think? Where is this going?
No, I mean, see, Matthias Bo needs his rest. The two guys can actually do with some change. It will be good if an Indonesian or a Malaysian or a Korean sort of comes in just to kind of make their game a little more rounded than it already is. The thing with the Indians is that they are known as an attacking pair and they are sort of slotted as an attacking pair. There are a few more dimensions that they need to add to their game. So in a way, I mean, I'm just giving it a very, very crazy positive spin. But the fact that they did not medal might actually push them to, explore more sort of aspects of the game.
Right.
And a good Malaysian, Indonesian coach, even Gopi Chand's thinking might sort of help.
Right.
Just getting in a new voice into the whole thing.
Yeah, so that I think is the next thing to watch out for whenever they return to the tour, how that goes. So before we wrap up badminton, of course, we can't leave. I mean, Ashwini Tanisha don't think we expected too much out of them, but I think in their own words, they had a campaign to forget 3 matches, 3 defeats. So, of course, Sindhu had a really good game against Yibing Zhao. We had already mentioned the streak of, Sindhu not losing to Chinese opponents at the Worlds and Olympics. And like her streak of winning medals in both her previous Olympics, all good things come to an end. Not unexpected, I would say. Shivani ji, where do you see Sindhu going from here? Still has it in her?
One, if I may be permitted to say this, but I'm really happy for her, Wing Zhao. I think she deserved like a medal, so good for her. But no, Sindhu, I think when we spoke to her trainer before the Commonwealth Games that she won, he had made a very interesting point, Shrikant, that Sindhu is actually capable of playing right through to 33, 34. Now, of course, she's been winning World Championship medals since she was 17. She's been at it for a long time. I won't say there's nothing to achieve because there is a gold to achieve. But the thing is, I think it should entirely depend on what she wants, how she feels about the sport. She's still at a decent level. And I think it'll be nice if she takes on the challenge of, getting back to a stage, because it shouldn't be ki adhura reh gaya, It shouldn't be something that's sort of left. But yeah, she's achieved everything. Just the fact that there were so many injuries, she had a good chance, but the Chinese was way too good that day. And she's been good for a while.
Yeah. And she ended up reaching the final, although in somewhat unfortunate circumstances with Marin's injury. So that's, badminton is, I guess, a wrap. We'll move on to other sports. I knew that badminton was going to take up a lot of time that we have allotted for this podcast anyway, because, both me and Shivani watch quite a lot of that. So it's kind of our favorite sport to watch in one sense. So the heartbreak, it's all coming back. So let's quickly move on to another sport where actually, I don't know if one of the pre-games prediction would have been a medal from either table tennis or tennis. There was an outside chance when we saw the draw for the women's team event. We thought, there is a possibility there, but no medals yet in table tennis for India at the Olympics, and the wait for a tennis medal since Leander Paes in 1996 continues. Table tennis, actually no medal, but I would say overall a positive campaign. Shivani, all said and done?
Yeah, no medal. I think Germany could have been a better fight. That was quite a wipeout. in the team event, the women's team event. Men, not much was expected. They need to kind of step up in the next cycle. But I think the Shrija Sunyangsha match, she was playing the Chinese world number one in the individual event in the pre-quarters. And she led in the first two games. She had game points in the first two games, I think 5 and 4. And she couldn't convert. I think that's a huge learning curve. That's a huge sort of lesson for her. But yeah, it was again the thing of raising hopes and then, the Chinese just coming back and blasting away. She needs more power.
Yeah, and you had spoken to Manika, you had done that brilliant piece during our Paris countdown. Again, whenever you speak of history in table tennis and India, Manika's name is usually around the corner. She became the first Indian table tennis player of any gender to reach the round of 16 in a singles event at the Olympics, quickly followed by Shrija a day later. So Manika, again, she showed that she is, I think, the leader of this team, had some really good performances in the team event also, except for the Germany match, I thought. Again, good signs for Manika going forward, but there has to be, I'm guessing, need to push on from here, essentially, right?
She has much to achieve. The fact is her game is just coming together like properly for the top league, for the elite matches. So I think if she can play a lot more on the circuit, there will be like a string of upsets because she's capable of those. But yeah, Germany was a letdown, the team match.
Yeah, and worth mentioning, actually, the world number 100 Germany player, not able to recollect the name right now, she actually went on to register a couple of more big wins even after beating India. So that is there. I guess time to quickly move on to archery next. Yeah, again, nearly is, I think, archery's story of not just Paris 2024, but at Olympics in general. I personally thought, I thought this probably in London, in Rio, as well as before Tokyo, but I thought genuinely this was the year that India were going to end the wait for the archery medal, purely based on the fact that, we've seen Dheeraj in action on the World Cup circuit. He's been consistently shooting really well. We saw the men's team beat Korea in a World Cup final, which doesn't happen just like that by fluke. We had Ankita and Bhajan in decent touch, winning mixed team medals on the World Cup circuit. We had Deepika coming back after all that she's gone through, taking a break, becoming a mother, and then trying to reinvent her game and then making final, I'm not sure if it's a final quest, but another quest for a Paris medal. And in the end, none of it really worked out. I had actually more hopes from the 3 team events than any individual because, individual event, there's going to be 3 Koreans around the corner and it's not exactly possible to avoid them at any point of time. So team events and they did really well in getting seeds and decent draws and all that. And mixed team was one where they came really close and lost the 4th place match. Just your general thoughts on archery, Shivani-ji? It feels like a regular story, like rehashed from the past games.
Yeah, and I think it's been way too long to just pin it on mental strength or mental brittleness.
Right.
I think they really need to look at the technical aspects of shooting at the crunch as well as their equipment. Those are 2 things that they need to sort of get into. I think they're still in a very rudimentary stage of, preparations compared to, let's say, the Koreans or any of even the top European nations. But yeah, we are a new country for archery that way. Dheeraj is a genuine talent. He's also capable of shooting really lousy 7s and 8s. So I think he'd need to cut that down. We're expecting a lot from him, but I think he's capable of delivering. I will not give up on Deepika simply because, she comes through the trials and I think you'll need like a serious talent to sort of dislodge her. So as long as she can make the team, she should carry on. But she has to find a way to not lose because I'm sure she's also bored of losing, boss. So, yeah, Bhajan and Ankita, Bhajan was definitely a talent. She was definitely good in the team events. But again, it's way too up and down, whether it's her or it's Jadhav or it's Ankita. And even Dheeraj, for that matter. They ended with a couple of 10s, Ankita and him, but no, I think the big pressure shooting is still not quite there.
Yeah, and that's, I think, kind of been our problem. I don't know what the fix is. There was controversy even before the game started, the Korean coach not being at the games. That was already in the news. I don't know if they're getting enough exposure to such high pressure situations domestically. I generally can't put my finger on why they keep doing well in World Cup circuits and it's not translating into an Olympic medal for this long. I mean, you can understand a miss here and there, but when consistently it happens across the 5 different categories, and the story was the same across the 5 different categories, except maybe the men's individual where, Dheeraj shot possibly the match of his life and still ended up losing by, the slimmest of margins. And we don't say that lightly. It really was a tiny margin that he lost by. Any other day, he could have probably won that.
But I was just comparing the bowstring tensions of the Italians, and they weren't even like the winners of that match, and the Indians. And I think the Indians are at least 8 to 9, whatever the metric, whatever the unit is, lesser than the Europeans or the Americans and the Koreans, of course. Now, the thing with the bowstring tension is, if the higher the tension, the greater is the stability in getting those 9s and 10s. But that needs great shoulder power. So, it again boils down to power, though it might look like you're just standing and sort of shooting arrows, but it is a power sport. So they will need to get up prop up the...
Yeah, there is a lot of work to be done.
Yeah.
Among the sports that we've discussed so far, probably archery is one where I'm genuinely concerned of where we go from here. Because, all said and done, badminton you have, but, there is a system built in place where they need to change and all that is a different question. But there is a system in place. Table tennis, we are consistently improving and archery, I don't really see where we go from here. That's kind of a concerning. And speaking of things concerning about in terms of the future, boxing, quickly, a couple of minutes we have, I think, to wrap up. Boxing, you sent that update for the blog today morning, Shivani saying things that we might not see in the Olympics anymore. Started off with Srijesh and, Sharath and all that, and you ended with boxing. I chuckled when you sent that. Yeah, it's again been a mess, not just for India not winning a medal, but from what little I caught, I don't know where the sport exactly is going. Just your quick thoughts on that and where Nikhat and essentially the women were supposed to deliver. We've been consistently seeing them deliver more than the men in recent times, but no medals. How did you see that, Shivani?
My comprehension of the sport has been sort of inversely proportional to the number of Olympics that I've followed it. And I just don't get the scoring. And initially, I thought, I should be self-aware and it's my problem. But no, it's not a me problem. It is a sport problem. That sport has a problem with its scoring. So they need to sort of sort it out because they are in serious danger of being sort of kicked out of the Olympics. I hope it doesn't happen because I really want Nikhat to get like a second go at it. But disappointing from the entire sort of contingent, starting from the qualification in men's. I think that was like seriously, I think we had just 2. So that is a huge problem. And Nikhat and Lavlina, I had very high hopes from them. They ended up with very tough draws. But when you want an Olympic medal, you're expected to get those. Just like wretched luck for Nikhat, for sure. But she shouldn't give up. I really I would say that say the same for Vinesh also. I don't want them to retire and give up, and not that they're giving up. I don't want them to go away from the sport because it's the one thing that they love. So Sindhu as well. Yeah. So I hope Nikhat continues.
Yeah, and whether Nikhat can continue or not could eventually come down to, might even not be in her hands. But there are question marks around boxing for LA 2028. It's a big topic that's probably a podcast of its own where we might bring in Shashank Nair and discuss one day on what exactly is going on and what do we know on what's the future of boxing in Olympics is. But expectations from Nikhat and Lavlina mainly, and their draws weren't great. Lavlina, of course, fell 1 round short of a medal. She lost in the quarterfinal to the top seed from China. Nikhat got a second round tie against the Chinese as well, the top seed, which, like Shivani has been saying, it's not just the scoring that doesn't make sense, it's the seeding that doesn't make sense at all. The top seed and the 2-time world champion meeting in the second round is just, beyond my comprehension of any sport that I've watched. And we watch a lot of badminton. So, when we say draws are bad for boxing, because badminton is not great either. When we say boxing is mental, I think that's all the time we have. We actually probably overshot quite a bit. Our producers might not quite enjoy that, but you don't get Shivani Naik for 30 minutes on a podcast every day. So glad we made the most of it. Shivani ji, I hope it probably helps you move. I hope it helps you move along in the stages of grief. Discussing what we
will not till Vinesh gets the silver, not till Neeraj gets the gold.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. 4 years is a long time, so let's hope it's quicker than that. But thanks a lot for taking time out on a short notice and filling in for today. We are not quite sure what tomorrow is going to be like. I mean, I think we now by now know that there is the decision on Vinesh is not expected Sunday, so we'll probably have to figure out something to talk to Mihir if he's free. So let's see how that goes. But thanks again for listening in. Yeah, but today officially marks the end of India's contention at Paris, and hope you have enjoyed our coverage throughout the last 2 weeks over the podcast as well as on the website. We still have stuff coming up the news doesn't stop, so stay tuned on our website and Twitter handles, and we'll be back soon with another episode of Pod of the Rings.
You were listening to Express Sports by the Indian Express. This week's show was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar and produced by Shashank, Bhargava and me, Ichha Sharma. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcast. You can also send it to someone who will like it, share it with your friends or someone in the family. It is the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Podcast and write to us at podcast@indianexpress.com.